I like adding it to YouTube and stuff like that just
Yeah,
because.
add your stuff. Let's get this party started. We are officially live. He's on Twitch. He's on YouTube. He's on Facebook. Follow your man's.
It's funny because I'm like definitely one of those people who is like not capitalizing on basically like what we're doing right now.
Oh,
So so
it's
this
a
is like my
sad day.
this is like my practice. Like by the new year, I'm having all my stuff because we're talking about branding today, and I
Yes.
and I think that like personal branding was a thing that we were talking about on the phone, and
Yeah.
that's where I understand what I want to do, but it's just like it's hard to let go of all the things that you could be known for,
Mm.
and that's what the process that I had a hard time letting go. And I feel like because of us doing this live stream, or just like this thing we're doing, which doesn't even have a name yet, does it?
D and Mike, marketing, whatever you want it to
Yeah,
be.
it's forcing me to like have a clear message and a way to describe
Mhm.
myself. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm excited for this episode because I think that a
Well,
lot of people are going to get a lot out of it, including ourselves.
yeah. Well, let me drop this jewel real quick and
All right,
how it
drop it,
started and why
drop
we're
it,
here. So,
drop
first of
it.
all, Seth Godin explained branding to me so clear. And as I see and I watch all these people, I'm gonna drop all these things of why or what I'm trying to figure out. So first, Seth Godin said, he said, let me explain to you what branding is. He said, branding is, let's say you have Nike and Marriott,
Oh yeah,
right?
I use this example all the time with clients, by the way. But go
Oh
ahead.
my gosh, it's so solid. So he
It's
said,
perfect.
if Nike built a hotel, we would know exactly the look, the feel. We would know exactly what that hotel would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, now if Marriott tried to build a shoe, we would have no idea what it is
Mm-hmm.
or what it looked like, what it would look like. And that
Mm-hmm.
is so clear to me because even as he's mentioning, and I think this is the power of like marketing
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, even as he's mentioning, imagine, Nike building a hotel. In my mind, I'm already building the hotel.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
oh my gosh, it's
I can see
probably
it.
gonna have right. It's probably gonna have a court,
Mm-hmm.
like wood on the
Mm-hmm.
floor, like a
Yeah.
basketball court. Like
Yeah.
that would look nice. And there's probably some elements of sports all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what branding is. So come to my dilemma
Mm-hmm.
is I'm going into building a poker coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out personal branding.
Yeah.
And and I have to be careful to not mistake that with, and I'm going to use the word attractive character, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean attractive character. For instance, when I think of Alex Hermosi,
Mm-hmm.
which he switched first, and he talks about this all the time, that he did his mustache, the
Yeah.
Fu Manchu, I call it. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, the Hulk Hogan
The
mustache.
handlebars.
Yeah, he did that to stand out.
Yeah.
Now, how I see him is he's always in, I almost want to say it's the same color flannel.
Yeah.
He might be wearing the same shirt, but
Yeah.
now it's a flannel, it's a beard, and I don't think he wears a hat. Sometimes he wears a hat, but like now that's his brand
Mm-hmm.
or his brand look or
Yeah.
his personal whatever that is.
Yeah.
When I think of, I've watched documentaries on WWE wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because they say, when they first come in, they're like one character. And then all of a sudden they're changing to another character. And
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to find their, if you want to call it, personal brand
Mm-hmm.
for them, right? Hulk Hogan, like red, yellow,
Yeah.
Hulkamania,
Yeah.
right? The Ultimate Warrior with the mask on.
Mm-hmm.
thing with the white face, the black thing. Like to me, those are all very iconic things. And as I try to build my personal brand, I try to ask myself, what things, how is someone automatically will see me and be like, that's that guy with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy with the mustache.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy with this. So tell me first, why is it important and how do you even come up with something to give you that iconic brand?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I could just share some of the things I've been wrestling with as I mean, I would say, you know this, branding is probably my favorite aspect of marketing, or business or whatever you want to call it, because it permeates through it all. But I still haven't mastered it fully because it is like a lot of intangible things, right? Um, there's a book called The Brand Gap by, I would say, the the number one authority on branding, Marty Newmeyer. And his definition is a brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, a person, or a business. And it says you can't control it, but you can influence it.
Mm,
And the reason I love that definition is because there are so many companies and individuals that think of themselves as a certain way. But when they interact with another person, that person gets their own feeling about this person. And it sometimes has nothing to do with that person feels about themselves. So
mm,
the biggest thing about a brand is you really have to have the other person in mind, and it has to align what you think about yourself. So everything you do has to permeate what it is you want to be known for. So you have to think about your brand in in respect to another person's brain, so to speak, right? And that's why you can't control it, but you can influence it. And I think that, like, now we're in this weird situation where, like, there's business branding and then there's like personal branding. And I would say there's no way to do, yes, you can brand a business, but all businesses are still playing off personal brands. And let me explain what I'm saying. Apple, Steve Jobs, Tesla, Elon Musk, but
mm.
Nike. Okay, Phil Knight's not really in the spotlight anymore, but all the athletes they endorse are. So when they sign a Michael Jordan or they sign a Kobe or whatever, what they're doing is they're saying, "Hey, everything about Kobe's personal brand, now we want to add it to Nike." And now people are seeing the company through the personal brand of all their all the humans that they put out in the forefront. So
So,
just
so you're
start.
saying is what you're saying is like each individual almost has their own. Nike is almost like all these different personal brands because someone who likes Michael Jordan might like, and I'm just using him because I'm
Yeah,
sure he's in his own world, but like,
yeah,
I guess the personalities, right? So
yeah,
if I'm more attracted to Michael Jordan, that's the branding influence I get because of Michael Jordan. But then Charles Barkley, who
yeah,
was this jerk,
yeah,
right? Like this villain,
yeah,
he's attracted to some other people, and that's a whole different brand
yeah,
because it's the different character.
yeah. Well,
Mm,
let's just use Apple for example. Now here's the thing though. There still has to be one through line, right? So Nike's only getting superstars.
mm,
They're only getting people who shine on the court, right? But yeah, Charles Barkley was an asshole. Michael Jordan was too, but that's not what you put. He was just dedicated to winning. And Kobe, same thing, the Mamba mentality, right? Dedicated to winning, but Kobe still had a whole different personal brand, different, different. He had even different his own logos and colors and things like that. His own culture, the whole Mamba mentality was literally his culture that he developed himself. But then that's more of like a brand endorsing people, right? Or company endorsing people. But let's take Apple, right? It was like Steve Jobs for the longest time. Then all of a sudden, this dude pops up, Johnny Ives. And it's like, why are people talking about Johnny Ives? Like, why? Like, how does it got a whole new person popping up? And I remember when we worked at Apple, Johnny Ives is almost sometimes like, I mean, I care about Johnny Ives a little bit more than Steve Jobs because he has a design philosophy. So, and I feel like so businesses do it too, but with Tesla, you don't really hear too much about any of the other superstars at Tesla other than Elon Musk. So if we just have this conversation and we just talk about that, that's kind of I think what applies to both me and you, which is like we're the founders of a business or a venture, a company, and get rid of Nike, even though it's a great idea. For this apples to apples, it's like me and you need to be Elon Musk, or we need to be Steve Jobs. You need your own personal brand, which is what you're talking about, but your company also needs its own brand. But nowadays, because of the competition, because of the internet, because of anybody can just pop up on the internet with a website, social media, and automation and all this stuff, there's so much more noise that now I feel like the only way to grow a company and get attention for a company, it has to be through the individual. And I think this is what you were going back. I know you were saying attractive character. I don't know if you want to even explain the difference of what you're talking about. I don't know if you want to go into that, but
I
I
don't
think
I don't
brand is a little bit
I don't
different.
think yeah, I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's
Okay, all right,
relevant
that's
to
fine.
the attractive character.
Yeah,
But I mean that's a whole persona, right? And I'm
yeah.
thinking, I mean, yes, but the attractive character is not because to me, still the brand is the look.
It's not. I'm a,
Okay.
all right. So okay, I don't want to say it's not. Let me clarify what I'm trying to say. A lot of this stuff can be approached a different way. So I don't want to say what you said was wrong, but let me share how I look at the brand. Okay. So the visual look compared to the emotional impact are two different things that play together. Okay. So let's just use the concept of a logo. Okay. A logo is just identification of a particular company brand, right? So, in going back
So
to the,
is it an element of the brand?
it is it's an element of the brand. Let's just think of a Marriott, Holiday, and what's the other Marriott? What's the other like business class hotels? I can't even Hilton,
You know,
DoubleTree. I mean, there's a different versions of them, right? They're having I don't know the difference
O
between Hilton,
Omni
DoubleTree.
Omni Hotel is
Okay,
another kind of high class one.
so the
JW Marriott is like
exactly.
in
All
it,
right,
yeah.
so take the hotel itself and swap any of the logos of those hotels with other business class hotels.
Okay.
There's the logo exists and it's a different logo, but it doesn't identify anything because there's no emotional connection to that logo, right? So if I went into a Marriott business class hotel and the next week they changed it to a Hilton business class hotel, honestly, that doesn't really mean anything to me. But if they
Mm,
switched a Nike store with a Reebok store, I would be mad, right? Because Nike represents something more emotional to me than a Reebok brand. Okay. So the reason I'm saying that is because the look is important, but if the look doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter, right? So you can have the best suit or the handlebar mustache. If there's no emotional impact that a person gets to feel when interacting with the brand, the look doesn't matter. But guess what? Once there is an emotion, and I'm gonna break down exactly what I mean by that, and you're gonna love it. Once there is an emotional impact, now that person is looking for that symbol to no matter where they are, whether it's an email, a store, or whatever, they're looking for that symbol because it represents this emotional impact, this experience they had, right? That's why the look does matter. That's why the all black turtleneck matters. And it's so iconic when, hey, by the way, one more thing. We had this
mhm,
phone and it's not an iPod, whatever, that whole experience.
mhm.
Now, every time he wears a black turtleneck, it means something because people remember that's the same outfit he had when he did the iPhone, right? So,
So can you say that, and I'm gonna use the word just general
mhm,
story.
Hmm.
The story behind the brand creates the emotional connection, which then falters into the look, which brings it together.
Yes, with a caveat. What you're saying is true, but if we're going to make this conversation very impactful, let's talk about what I believe needs to happen now. See, there's always different eras of stuff, and I believe that our minds go back to the 90s, our brains were open to more things because they weren't always working overtime. Versus now, my phone's pinging. I got to pick up my kids from practice, and the coach is emailing me, and it's all these forms I got to sign online. And it's just like it was like you didn't even know like you had to sign forms until your kid came home from school and say, "Hey, I need this signed." Now my kids are texting me the moment they get the forms. "Hey, when I get home from school today, I need you to fill out these forms." And then I get an email from the school saying, "Hey, by the way, your kid's coming home with forms." It's like you're getting. It's the same thing. What's going to happen? I'm just going to fill out the forms, but now I've got three communication channels coming at to me about these forms. Okay, so just amplify that amongst all the brands, all the things we're doing, all the things we're connected to. You have to like make an impact even sooner. So the story used to be great. Here's my caveat for the story now. There's your story has to be their story, meaning they should be able to
Mhm.
swap you out and put themselves in the story. And that to me is so. Here's this thing I'm gonna say. What you're trying to do with a business is you're trying to identify the people. Well, you're trying to tell people, hey, I understand what your Goliath is because it's the same Goliath for me. But guess what? This is how I defeated my Goliath, which happens to be your Goliath. And here's what that means. Now that my Goliath is defeated, this is all the stuff I'm able to do with my new freedom from this Goliath. But guess what? You have the same Goliath. So guess what? All that stuff that it means for me, it means it for you. Then what you do is you find you have all these people who have the same Goliath and you bring them together. And that's a community. And so for me, the story is, hey, this is how I defeated my Goliath. This is what I did, and this is what I'm able to do. By the way, you're in this too. And by the way, there's multiple people. By the way, this is the culture we're building. This is what this means. This logo, these colors represents your Goliath being defeated. So I think that at the end of the day, people want to defeat their Goliath. And if you can't point them to that or right away, you don't have a brand. It used to be just a bunch of marketing. Just do it. Michael Jordan's in a commercial. Now it's people is like, man, okay, I've been having Jordans for the past 20 years, man. I'm trying to go to another phase of my life. Like, what you got for me? So I think that that's
So,
the big part with
so
the branding
I
and the
I
story.
hear what you're saying, and I could see how that's implemented on a lower level of if you're saying just me, you, and I, right?
Yeah,
Where it's like just starting out, it's easy to create if you want to say a manifesto, this mission statement, this like, hey, this is how we're doing it.
yeah,
What about these ginormous corporations that already are in existence
yeah,
and they have bad branding?
yeah.
If it's a hotel, if it's a bank, if it's
Hmm.
whatever, they got bad branding. And there's not really one person, if you think about Chase Bank,
Hmm.
right? Like, I don't really even know what their branding is, but like, not one person is going to stand out and be like, hey, follow me,
Yeah,
because the CEO might change in 2 years
yeah.
if it's that person. So,
That's a
how,
great
how do
question.
you, how do you attack? Because it's easy for an entrepreneur to be like, hey, we're fighting for justice.
Yeah. So your question is how do they do it?
My question is, how does, if someone's listening on a corporate level right now,
Yeah.
and they're like, listen, I'm at a bank, and it's easy for the entrepreneur to have this us versus them mentality. And, how do you implement or start incorporating
Yeah.
branding from an organization that's so large and they've been around for so long, but is
All
that
right.
their brand? I've been around
No,
for so
listen.
long.
Listen, I have what I believe could be some good answers or some good insights. So number one, when we talk about these big corporations like Chase, you're dealing with the scale economy. And what that mean, or the economy of scales, it's said in multiple ways. And basically all that means is the bigger you are, more money you have, you win because you're big. Meaning that if I have $1 million, right, to spend on marketing,
Mm,
and I spend half of it to go on a party, go to the on a yacht with LeBron, and be in one Instagram reel with LeBron, because I am in this whirlwind of all these influential people, but my money got me there. Remember, not a regular person can do this. I automatically can launch a multi-million-dollar brand off of that because I'm a part of this system that just keeps pushing me to the forefront, right? It's the same thing with like
okay.
it's easy to ship 1,000 cars than it is to ship one car every time. There's another aspect when you go try to get like anything like business cards. It's like the more business cards you get, the cheaper it costs per card. Because for the
Sure.
printer, they're like, well, if I have to print off 100 cards for you, it ain't worth it. I gotta charge you more. But if you want 20,000 cards, I can get them to you a penny a card because I got the machines already on, right? So I can pump out more cards. So Chase and all that, it's so easy for them just to open up a branch in the right place that people just go there because the iconic blue logo. So they don't have to play that game. Let's go to like a smaller bank, right? This is something me and you talk about. Actually, the first time I heard this, you told me this. And I think Myron Golden said it, but I heard it from you first. You said success leaves clues.
Mm,
People don't buy from businesses, they buy from people. People like people. People attract people. So instead of trying to compete like Chase, the big bank should act like the entrepreneur. Get some influential people, put them in the forefront of your bank, let them have a unified message, and people like people. If I like a person, I'm gonna do stuff with the person. Like I'll give you a perfect example. And so my buddy, my good friend, he owns an insurance company. Okay, so he's my insurance agent, and we were with I don't want to say the company, but we were with the company, and for some reason, and it had nothing to do. And I'm only saying this just to give the context. So we have a Mercedes and a Range Rover on the thing. Our price was dope. All of a sudden, our prices started going up every couple months or whatever, to the point where my wife's like, "Our insurance is out of hand. You got to talk to your friend." Okay, and I'm like, hey, like we gotta work, but I'm like unorganized and stuff. So I wasn't doing it right. I was texting them. We would never follow up. It was my fault, right? So
you
then she
still ain't
gets to
got
the
a
point.
background.
Yeah, so she's getting to the point where she's like, hey, you know what? Like, I might just have to take over myself and I might have to go shop around myself. I'm like, no, that's my friend. I'm gonna be
Mm,
loyal to my friend. I said, man, I need to figure this out. And we figured it out like in 2 days. My whole point is because I like him. I'm doing business with him. It's hard to care about the insurance company itself, but if there's an insurance agent you like, you go and do business with them. So any company that's corporate, you have to
mm.
you have to put somebody out there you have to have a face of the company, or endorse some people or whatever. You have to do something. That makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
I don't we're just
It makes
spitballing.
sense.
We're just
So what I
talking,
heard what you said, I hear a quote from Dan Kennedy, and Dan Kennedy says, "The person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins."
Yeah.
So whoever has the most money will win
Yeah.
all the time because they could just dump money and dump money
Exactly. Yep.
and dump more money, and
Yeah.
you'll be in your face. McDonald's, right? It's
Yeah.
just always in your face. The food is
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah. I know.
The other piece of that was you're saying big companies need to find their little influencer characters to bring in new audiences or
Yeah.
attract audiences.
Yep.
So when I hear that, the first thing I think of, which could have a negative effect too, right?
Yeah.
So I think about the Bud Light
Oh
thing
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they went
Yeah,
nuts,
I know what you're saying. Go ahead, man. I'm so hot. I gotta
right?
take this hoodie off.
Okay.
I
So
can't
they
though, 'cause I don't
went
have a shirt on under it. So go ahead.
So they had what transgender,
Yeah.
like a transgender person come in
Yep.
and represent Bud Light to try to bring in a new audience.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I know someone who drives a Budweiser Bud Light truck, and
Yeah.
it's not just Bud Light, dude. It's like
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
array of
Yeah. Exactly.
alcohols.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he was so upset because let's just say he had 40 deliveries
Yeah.
in one day, it went
Yep.
down to 15,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, not only was the people not buying the stuff, but like they were not buying any of the brand of that,
Yeah.
of whatever they were associated with,
Yeah.
which is funny enough. So going off what you said, I guess you have to be careful because you will attract and detract people by the influencer
Yeah. Can I say
you
something though?
decide. Yeah.
I said this earlier. I said a brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or company. I said you can't control it. You can only
Ooh.
influence it. And
Oh.
that's what Bud Light did. And let's just get we don't got to get political. We don't got to get
No.
none of that stuff. Basically, they had a target audience, right? And there was a misalignment because they were basically influencing this one brand for so long, right? So they're basically, hey, this is our brand, this is our brand. And they've been saying it over and over again. They were very consistent with who their brand was and who they were attracting. Then they put out something different, and immediately, whatever, I don't care how much money they spent, the branding experts, the marketing geniuses, they were not in control. You know who was in control? The people.
The
That's the
people,
biggest
yeah.
part about it. So you can't, and Pepsi did the same thing. Pepsi put out this commercial with Kylie Jenner. It was like this parade, and she was solving all these problems, and they had all these different people like coming into like this, like it was like the summer of love thing. And people hated it. They're like, why do you put this rich girl on TV like she's gonna solve racial inequality and same-sex marriage stuff? That's what the commercial was saying. Is like all you needed to do is get Kylie Jenner, who's a supermodel, who's rich, get some Pepsi, and all your problems go away. And guess what? They pulled the commercial. And that's I think that's like the point is like the people are always kind of like able to read in what that's why I feel like it's so funny. And this is I'm not trying to talk about your boy because I actually like him. But this is why I always had a problem with the ClickFunnels people. Okay. And it's not just ClickFunnels people. It's this type of marketer, and we've experienced them before, which is basically all they're doing is just they're really they're like a marketer. They're not a business brand maker. They're a marketer. So they find something, the new thing, and they market it. And then once that's done, they go to the new thing. And you go to some of their channels and it's supplements one day, it's a funnel the other day, it's this new product the other day, and you realize that there's no cohesiveness. And they put off this vibe. And guess what? The community affected, in my opinion, the main brand, which is ClickFunnels. I was like, this company is creating the worst type of person on the internet right now for me. They're so annoying. Everything they're saying is in 3 days, make $10,000 a month just doing this simple formula. And I will see the
This
thumbnail.
one thing.
Yeah, and it's just like my whole point is that, and maybe this is like another byproduct is the brand, and this is what happened with Budweiser. The brand community, right, was problematic to the point where they thought they had to change their community. They had to change it from this guy drinking beer, watching sports to like, hey, somebody who's more in touch with their feelings and is okay with all these other things. And the people said no. So, like to your point, that could happen as well. So, if you're going for poker players, and you think about your brand, if you're going for poker players, you got to think about what type of players are out there because they're also probably uh, sports betters. They're probably degenerate. Some of them, I'm just talking real honest, right? If you're going for people who's going to hire a poker coach, you have to just be ready for how do you attract the right person and put out the right image where you're not attracting that type of stuff, right? So,
Yeah. So that's the question. Where do you start? Where do I decide, like, okay, this is the right message, this is the right look, this is the right iconic symbol, this is the right story?
all right. So, this is one thing I've been battling with myself. Okay. So I think it starts with you. This guy said the best business to start is a business where you solved your own problem
Mm,
and you're teaching people how you did it, right? So obviously, you still have to be the hero of the story, even though you're going to be able to replace yourself and basically tell people, like, "Hey, I'm just Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. I'm just a guide." But I used to be in the story where you are now. I used to be there, right? So that is where you start, right? It has to be It has to be you can actually pull this off. So I think a lot of it is asking yourself the questions on these, like, what would you want to see, right? But another aspect of it is I feel like, depending on the industry, depending on the story, and I give you an example what I'm thinking, right? We're talking about look, okay? So you brought up Alex Hermosi with the mustache, right? So if I'm trying to be a Wall Street influencer, right? I'm a
mm.
tech, I'm sorry, I'm a stock market genius. But I'm doing this on YouTube, right? I'm just myself. There's two directions I can go. One direction I can go is like crazy, right? I dress up like a clown and I got dollar signs all over my thing and I got bells and stuff and my thing look like a circus and I'm called the stockbroker clown man or whatever. And I go and I'm saying stuff, but I'm saying real stuff. So people are like, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about. But it's a gimmick. And it's like I'm honking the horn, I'm squirting water. I'm like, they're a dud, squirting water. And you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The other way is like I could look like Gordon Gecko. I could actually look like a stockbroker and be professional. Now, obviously, somebody in the Hamptons, well, actually, somebody in the Hamptons would never go for neither one of these, but just for the sake of my conversation, somebody in the Hamptons is not going to like the clown guy. Clearly, the clown guy is for your everyday person, right? But it still could work, even though it has nothing to do with stock market world, right? But it stands out. The other route is don't stand out. Do the traditional thing, but then you have to figure out what the other standout thing is. And this goes back to the whole thing with all the notifications. We're in an information rich, time deprived society. You have to rise above the sea of noise. One of the easiest ways to do it is Seth Golden, who's bald and wears those glasses all the time. And I guarantee you, sometimes he doesn't want to wear them, but he has to now because it's a part. It helps him stand out. Um, Alex Hermosi with the mustache. He was like, I got to do something to stand out. It has nothing to do with anything that I do. It's just to stand out. So I think one aspect of it is, are you playing the game where you're trying to stand out? Uh, um, Visually, that's Chris Doe. Chris Doe even talks about this. He says he
Mm.
plays on he now he wears a hat all the time. He wears the
Yep.
same hat. I don't know if you noticed in his videos. He has the same hats. He has the glasses on, and he's starting to develop his black turtleneck, mom jeans, and New Balances like Steve Jobs. So I think you have to make that decision. Like, are you trying to stand out? Because if you are, then you really there's you could dress like Darth Vader. I mean, like,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess and okay, so here is to that point.
yeah.
Yes, I recognize you got to stand out. I recognize sometimes you got to play a character. But should you or should you not be true to yourself and play a character or be who you are?
I think you should be who you are. And cut me off, because if I'm doing too much talk, cut me off. But this is literally something that I feel like I've been battling. So I'm turning I'm turning what I consider my weaknesses into my superpowers.
Okay.
So number one is I feel like I go too deep a lot. Like when I'm talking about something, I give too much information, right? It's called a curse of
For-
knowledge or
yeah,
whatever.
for
Okay.
sure. Sometimes it's rambling.
Yeah, sometimes it's rambling, right? There's two solutions that ways I can approach this. One way is I can go and try to go to what they call those things where you
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters. I can
Yeah.
go to Toastmasters and say, you know what? I want
I'm
to
gonna
be
be
more concise and clear. I
Mhm.
am going to go learn public speaking, and then I'm going to just practice and to go through this whole thing and transform who I am. Or I could just find the people who are like me and optimize for that specific audience who doesn't care about that. They like going deep. And I found them. I found people just like me. I watch their YouTube videos. There's no thumbnails on their videos. There's no, they just, the video just starts. There's no animations. There's no music that comes in. They just start talking. And I'm like right there. Oh, that's a great. Oh, I'm watching the whole thing, long form content. And I realized I can sit there and watch a 3-hour video of somebody saying something impactful. And then you would say, well, there's not a lot of people like that. Well, those type of people, they're going to be, you're going to be able to sell them more high ticket things because they're just a different type of person. They're a more quality, quality lead, right? So I think for me, and I don't know if this is going to work for you, but I think it could. Is you kind of just look at what it is it about yourself, and especially in this journey, if you're saying I defeated this Goliath, like it's so much better to replace people, remove you out, and remove people in that are almost just like you, right? Because if I'm watching some tech founder talk about, yeah, I grew up in San Francisco and I went to Stanford, and I was struggling to get investment. And here's what I did to get investment in my first startup. I'm like, fool, I didn't even go to college and I live in Ohio. It's like you talking about you struggling. It's like, so I would do the same video where I would say, hey, if you didn't go to college and you don't live in Silicon Valley, this is how I started my business. This is how I started my bit, or here's how I got investment in my company. And guess what? They don't care if you ramble because your hook was so exact to their life that
Yeah.
now they're like, oh man, this dude is just like me. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I definitely wouldn't do the clown thing that I said. I would definitely do what it is about yourself. And especially at our age, you is not changing who you are. Let's be honest.
I'm too old for that.
You ain't changing who you are.
I guess, as I try to think about, and I'm going to, again, just use maybe brand or the attractive character or whatever
Yeah.
the look is. Like, I don't even know my own look. Like, I shop at wherever is cheap. I get t-shirts. That's my look.
That's a
But
brand.
that,
That's a
but
brand.
that, but that don't stand out.
No, but it does stand out.
Mm.
Let me tell you why it stands out. Because that's, first of all, that's not what people are saying out here. Okay. So sometimes I think it's the message that stands out, right? Everybody's like, hey, I bought this shirt. It has this logo on it. It made it cost $100. Somebody coming and saying, look, I optimize my life for this. I don't spend no money on things that aren't going to help me do this, this, and this. There are so many people out there when you're thinking of your target audience, people who's going to lock into your brand. It's like, that's exactly how I think. Now you stand out. You and I think we put too much on, because you said it, man. It's the story. I'll be honest with you, man. There should be a random button. I literally believe this. There should be a random button. And I actually might create the company. What it's gonna do, it's gonna give you random colors, random fonts, random logo. And it's gonna say, hey, this is your logo. I don't even need to know nothing about your company. Oh, why? I'm a we I don't know. Vacuum people's homes and shampoo their rugs and stuff like that.
Don't even
Okay,
matter.
it's the
Here's your
logo's gonna be
colors.
a dog with a frisbee. It's like, why? Why is it called? It's called Scooter Go Get It. And it's like, well, why is it called Scooter Go Get It and it's a dog with a frisbee? It's like, because it don't matter. That's there. You're not sending the logo. The logo's not knocking on their door and saying, hey, let me explain our logo to you. What's knocking on their door is, hey, you have this problem and we're going to solve it. And by the way,
Mm.
we gave you such a great experience. The next time you see our van driving around with the dog chasing a frisbee, even though it has nothing to do with our company, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's the company that did that one thing for me, because you identify them now. So I just think that, like, the whole colors thing, that's just because we just want to feel good about ourselves and say, yeah, I
Yeah.
really like blue, and no, random,
Right.
random
Random,
logo, random
random
colors,
name,
random
random this.
name.
You're good.
Yeah. Don't get
Well,
me
I guess
wrong.
I'll tell you.
There's benefit to saying poker coaching or something like that. Like there's
Yeah,
benefit to having the name say something, but also there's so many companies that are successful that don't the name has nothing to do with it, what they do. So
for sure. I'll drop another nugget that I heard that I thought was brilliant. And it has to do with URLs. And I say this only because we're talking about names.
yeah,
And it was have a URL that has the hook or message in it
yeah,
.com,
yeah,
right? So it's like iwalkdogs.com
yeah, yeah.
and it's for scooter go fetch or whatever it is, whatever random ass thing you said.
Yeah,
Um but I thought that was gold, especially for me if I'm running ads.
yeah,
It's important because every piece of real estate counts. And
I agree.
if the URL has some type of message in it, it
Yeah,
could be that thing that just solidifies what that person wants and gets a click.
yeah,
So
I agree.
as things are congruent. All right, so
I
let me
agree.
let me tell you because you know me, let me
Hmm.
tell you what I was thinking about standing out. Now I've been watching more television on poker tournaments and
Hmm.
everybody is random. There's no
Hmm.
mustache guy. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a few people who maybe they wear a cowboy hat or whatever, like that's his thing. As I think about what you said about the future, right? I love Chris Do. He's solid,
Yeah,
right? But now you said it, he's stuck,
yeah. He is
right?
stuck.
Seth Godin, you're stuck. And I know, and I'm afraid to put myself in a position where I get stuck being or doing something that I don't want to do.
Me too, bro. I'm letting you know that's where I'm at too. But go ahead. I'm with you there.
Okay. So with that being said, I think the next for me this year, this whole like these next few years, content is currency.
Yeah.
So this is a content enriched world that we got to embrace and be a part of. Everybody's doing it, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. You got to embrace building content if you want to move somewhere because at the end of the day, it happens with ads all the time. When I run ads, there's a certain percentage of people that I know that will convert right away. And it's only like 3%,
Yeah.
right? 5%. And I'm like screaming yes.
But it's like
But there's
that pyramid you showed me a long time ago. Yeah.
That's right. But
Yeah.
there's a 95% who gonna look you up.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna go to social media, they're gonna look at your Google reviews, they're gonna go to YouTube. And if you are not relevant,
Yeah.
someone is popping up
Yeah.
relevant to the subject that they're searching for.
Yeah.
With that being said, afraid of being stuck is how this thing goes full circle. So I thought thinking of all this through everything you said, right? What do I look like? What is the message? Who does it attract? Who does it detract? Who do I want to be in the mix with me? So I thought of because I thought about poker
Hmm.
and I was like, there's this a little bit nostalgia to poker. It's like old school. Poker been around for a long time,
Yeah.
right? And I when I initially every time I think of some type of poker or poker's in a movie, I think of old westerns,
Hmm.
cowboys, those type of people just sitting playing. Don't know why, but that's
Yeah.
the branding that's in my brain,
Yeah.
even with the fonts that I see.
Yeah.
So taking a modern approach to that, when I was working at the bank, I bought a whole bunch of. They wanted me to wear suits, man, and I'm not a suit guy
Yeah.
like at all.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I could pull it off, but to me, they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I did like the vest.
Hmm.
So I'd wear a shirt, button-up shirt. I put on a vest. I'd
Hmm.
wear a tie, and that was comfortable to me.
Yeah.
So as I thought about the branding, I thought, well, ditch the tie. Maybe I could do a shirt, but I love jeans, man.
Yeah.
Can you pull off a vest with a button-up shirt, untucked jeans? I don't know, because to me now you look sloppy. I have no idea, but maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
The whole point is I don't want to get caught into something that I'm like not comfortable
Yeah.
or I'm stuck doing
Do you
because
think Elon Musk dresses good?
I don't even think about him,
That's my
how he dresses.
that's my point. if I think that it's like,
But is he a personal brand?
yes, that's
I I
yes.
see him
Let me
as
say, all right, go ahead. I would,
I'll tell you how I see him as. I
yeah,
see him as an innovator, but I think the innovators are not in touch with their personal brand. They just innovate. I'm
that's
doing
but
SpaceX.
but
I'm doing
that's
that's
brand
branding.
that's branding. All it is what do you represent?
Mm,
They say Elon Musk is an Iron Man, as our modern day Iron Man. This to me is where I think you might be approaching this too. You're going too deep, and you said something about being stuck, right? So what does poker have that business has, that being a father has? Is it strategy? Is it being able to read people? Is it all of the above? Is there three components to thinking like chess or whatever? That's your brand. Your brand isn't poker. Your brand is Michael Gabriel, the this person, and it's like a simple statement that says, "This is how I win in poker, business, and life." Bam.
mm.
To me, I think you're going too deep into poker, and it's like, for example, my brand. What I'm trying to make my brand be is I take complex things and make them more simple. So when you think of Demetrius Reed, it's like it could be. We could talk about basketball. We could talk about business. I love take it, and I'm basically in using frameworks so people can understand. So the whole analogy thing, frameworks, and stuff like that. That's Demetrius Reed's personal brand that I'm trying to build for myself, so that I can pivot into business, but I can leave business and I can still go into something else because now I'm that person. That's what Elon Musk is. Elon Musk is just an innovator. That's his personal brand. So he can go to Twitter, he can go to Tesla, he can send rockets into space. To me, that's the ultimate way to do it. Is people will be like, I'm friends with this guy who does this is what he does. So now when you start another company, you do a dog walking company called Scooter Go Get It. They're your first customers because they know how you approach everything. So that's what I would do, and so whether that's the vest or not, that's really up to you. But I think that you might be, and I know what you're saying. I know how you're feeling, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I feel like if I was your consultant, your branding consultant, I would
You
say
are.
you might be focusing too much on the visual, which is important. Don't get me wrong, and not on the feeling that somebody gets. And this is what they say: is you want to write down how somebody will feel after interacting with you or interacting with your touch points, your videos, your content, your podcasts, when you meet them in person. And you should have a feeling that people are going to walk away from, and when they somebody asks them, "Oh, how did you feel about that?" There should be an answer that you already have down on a piece of paper or a Google Doc that they say. And every time you do anything, shake somebody's hand, go out to lunch with somebody, put out a video, they should get this same feeling. And that to me is more powerful. That also allows you not to be locked in to whatever. Because say the vest and the
Mm.
jean things don't work.
Don't work,
You
man.
can
It's like
you can put it away. Let's be honest. If Steve Jobs didn't wear a black turtleneck, people wouldn't be like, "I'm taking my Mac back."
yeah.
So
Vests and jeans look like I shopped at Kohl's, man. But I didn't know. I don't know what to do out here. I'm like, man, I would look like a fool,
but
man. That's
that
all
to
I'm
me
thinking.
might be your see, and also too, if you think about the throughput of poker, investor, venture capitalist, business owner, financially free person, they wear whatever they want to wear, however they want to wear it. It doesn't matter if they're on a poker table or they're going, I don't know, to New York or something on a private jet. I've seen them. They dress like they don't care.
Yeah, I guess hearing all of that, like the brand, the messaging, the content, I have like I don't change that.
Yeah, yeah,
That I'm the same, right?
yeah,
When
yeah,
I'm yelling at a camera
yeah.
or like just down to earth talking to somebody. Like that was not going to change. And
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why I'm so stuck on the image piece of
Yeah.
it, because it's like, well, I already know how the feel of it is going to be. But
I see
what
what you're
does
saying though.
the image feel of it? Because I guess if you say I don't change or I approach things like, I would never, like you said, we're too old to be changing, right? So it's not that I would approach things
You're
differently.
pretty consistent though, with by the way, just from outside. You're very consistent. So, but go ahead.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
and it's funny
Like you
because
already have
like,
a brand, basically.
yeah, yeah, I just don't have a look.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess maybe that's why I'm stuck, because the way I act with you is how I act with the CEOs, is how
Yeah.
I act with, the little kids. Like
Yeah.
I'm the same, man. I don't change. Like this
Yeah.
is me. And I guess that's why I'm so hung up on like, okay, what does this me look like? I don't even know. What
Yeah.
does it look like in business? What does it look like in poker? What does it look like over here? I have no idea
I
what the
do have an
look is.
idea for you though. This is something that I was gonna do myself. Uh, so my brother owns a clothing manufacturing company. So he makes blanks. Like this is actually one of his companies, right? But this hoodie is cut and sew. So this isn't like he got this from a factory and cut the logo out. This was sewn specific. Like he has blanks of these that he gets from Pakistan, right? From a factory he deals with. Okay. And he kept telling me, bro, you need to do your own clothing line, like your own Silicon Valley clothing line. I was like, what do you mean? Just get you plain t-shirts and have just like your little logo on it. So like your little DR that you design, and just wear your own shirts all the time. When you have a hoodie, your hats, everything, because I wear a lot of hats. He said just wear the same
Mm.
thing all the time. And it becomes unique because yes, it's a black t-shirt, but every time somebody sees you, they see your logo on it, which is not a logo that's out in the world. It's like your own, represents you or represents you as a person. That stands out to people because they're like, what regular person wears their own clothing line only for themselves? And he said, dude, I get it for the wholesale. It'll cost you to get 20 shirts that you have and that you could just use for 6 months and just re-up would cost you less than just buying clothes in general. And there's two benefits to that. Number one is that whole decision fatigue, like what do I wear today? But number two is
Mm,
you always get to be your character without really
mm.
trying to be your character. And that idea might work for you because that's what I was exploring. I haven't figured out if I'm gonna do it yet, but just based off our conversation,
Listen,
it's
that's
like
the answer.
it's the answer.
That's the answer.
So but that becomes your look now. Because guess what? Every time you go to a marketing or networking event, or you're on a video, everyone sees that, and it's like, but you got to be somebody doing that, like what I'm saying, and it's just simple. So I don't know. Maybe we figured out something.
There it is. There's the answer.
Yeah. So and that allows you to really, let's just be honest, it allows you to have the logo, make something cool, something you like. And you just got to do I think this is where it's different for everyone. It's like, is it you? Is it the Michael Gabriel brand, or is it your poker brand? And I kind of think that those decisions kind of just need to be fleshed out a little bit more. Maybe there's a couple of different logos you wear. I don't know. Maybe it's like NASCAR, where you have all your logos on your shirt, like on the back or something like that. Like there's stuff like that that's like, when you go to, I always think of these like, I used to go to these founders dinners in Cleveland. It's just all these like people founded companies. You go to these dinners and network and stuff like that, and they were like way more than a networking event. It was like an experience, and it's like, I mean, everyone's there trying to do their thing. Like I went to the one networking event you had at Top Golf, and the one dude came doing magic and pulling out his
Yeah.
business cards, and they were catching on fire and they would burn out. Like, and listen, not saying that was tight. I still follow him on social media to this day, to the point where I
And we're
follow him on TikTok and I see his videos to this day. It's
and we're
just I don't
talking about it right
yeah,
now.
I just don't need his services. But if I did, he would be somebody I reached out to. So that did work. But for everyone who ain't trying to pull out a business card and throw that flammable stuff on it and light it on fire, everyone who ain't doing that, maybe it's just get a monogram, get monogram clothes. That's simple and allows you to wear jeans with your shirt. Allows you to wear some nice pants and some dress shoes with the shirt. It allows you to mix and match, but it's still you're on brand all the time. And people get used to that logo, and they start to identify, oh well, Michael Gabriel stands for this, logo stands for. So when I see this logo now, it means
All right,
something.
now. There it is. This all was worth it.
Yeah.
This podcast was a consultation for Mr. Gabriel about branding, and we've come to a conclusion.
Yeah. That's crazy that this happened. And this is probably why I'm even more excited about that we're doing this, because that's how business strategy happens. What we just did. It's not always knowing the answer, because honestly, we were just talking through what I knew about branding and what you knew about branding, and we came to a conclusion. And I didn't come in thinking that,
Yeah.
and I think that's real strategy.
Yeah. No, for real. I think, because even towards, I guess maybe even me clarifying the whole like the look, the feel, oh, I guess not the look, but the feel of what's coming or what I can deliver. And I'm stuck on the look, and you're
Yeah,
like, okay, wait, I got the answer for you then. Because
yeah,
it's not, I don't need to figure out that piece of it,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's not the character with the was squirting like
yeah.
cloud. Like I can be no squirting cloud out there. But there's people who will act like that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, my I know Riff Raff,
Oh my
right?
gosh, I love Riff Raff.
Oh my gosh, listen, Riff
I
Raff is
love Riff Raff.
he is a character.
He is.
If you know him personally, the guy
Yeah,
doesn't talk. Like
yeah,
he's quiet.
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like on your videos, you're like screaming, yelling,
Bro,
like your teeth. Like in real life, you don't talk,
I'm
which
glad you brought up Riff Raff. I'm glad,
yeah,
because I
which
have
is
something to
weird.
say. I have something to say about, and we need to figure out how I can meet him. But we could do that later. But it's to your point. I'm so glad you brought up Riff Raff, because that is the down. So I like Riff Raff, right? He's entertaining. But if I were to think about if I were Riff Raff, to always have to be that person every time you go out in public, or you're gonna let people down. I couldn't do it.
Mm.
And that's why when we were talking about like, do you do the clown thing, or do you do like the more traditional, like what you are? And I was talking about like my whole thing where it's like, look, every time somebody meets me, they're gonna be like, man, that dude talks a lot, but he says a lot of dope stuff. But you got to be ready for like the download that he's gonna give you, because it's gonna be way too much every time. That's my brand. You're gonna get it all the time with me. So like I don't even have to try, and I'm on brand. And I think that I would rather do that than to be like, okay, so now I'm gonna go out to a networking event. Okay, remember your Toastmasters thing.
Put on your vest.
Yeah,
Put on your put it in your teeth.
think
Right?
before
Like
you
whatever
talk.
you.
Don't say too many words, because they don't want to. And I'm all like, every time I'm gonna say something, I'm editing it in my brain. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I hear
So
you. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that neither. And that's what's hard. That's what was hard for me because again, I don't have a personal style.
yeah,
I mean, I'm just like again the Kohl's shopper. Like that's
yeah,
just
yeah.
me. And maybe that's the brand.
That's
But like me trying to think about if you want to compare it to Riff Raff being on stage
yeah,
all the time, like I couldn't do it. Like I would go
yeah,
crazy because
yeah,
I wouldn't want to do it. It wouldn't be
yeah.
sustainable because personally I'd be feeling like I'm fake.
Yes, it wouldn't be sustainable. That is a big part of it. I want to say one last thing. Um, excuse me. I think the biggest thing with personal branding that's a little bit different from business branding, company branding, even though there's a lot of similarities, is, and we don't have enough time to get into this, and I actually don't want to. This is great. Let people go research on their own. I think you have to think more like a political consultant. And the one word every time I think about politics, it's a word called optics. And what it basically means is, if this presidential candidate goes and gets a hot dog, what does that mean? You got all these people saying, president, you can't put a hot dog in your mouth. Why? All the people who are against
Vegan.
gays are gonna not
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
then all the people who are health conscious are gonna be like, you know what hot dogs are made for? Made out of? Like, I know
Yeah.
this sounds stupid, but my point is that so it's like you're offending different people by just putting a hot dog in your mouth for different reasons. Okay, so that's I'm not saying go that deep. What I'm saying is, what does it say about you when you have to, you're wearing a vest and some jeans versus you looking casual and comfortable? Those both say something, and they don't necessarily say bad things, but they attract a certain person, but they do say something. And
Mm.
it's like, this dude really puts on a vest every day. Like somebody's gonna be like, right? Some people gonna like it, and that's why I think that the thing that I'm just reinforcing the thing with the simple clothes, just with your logo on it. It says, "Hey, I do have excellence in myself, and I am professional about this. That's why I have the logo. Like I really am trying to do something, but I'm also accessible. I'm genuine, and I'm laid back. And my approach is genuine and laid back, and you can trust me. You know what I'm saying? Versus a guy in a suit, where it's just like, why are you wearing a suit though? Like we're at like a luncheon. Like, why you got a suit on, bro? So I just think that I guess the moral of the story is lean into who you are and just figure that out. The whole gimmick
Yeah.
thing is gonna get old, you
Yeah.
know.
I'm with you. I don't want to be no gimmick.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it was great. This is why, if you heard it from the guy himself, he don't want no intros, he don't want no outros. He just wants to get to it. That's why we don't have an intro or background. We
I
just
know.
we just here.
No, I'm gonna get us a little something. We need to both have our logos under us.
I know, man. Listen, I'm in the t-shirt game right now, so I know
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I've actually pressed some things with the Mach 10 logo,
Yeah.
and I tried to find one today
Yeah.
because it's like I want to rock my own stuff. You said
Yeah.
it right,
I
man. I
love
want to
the Mach
rock.
10 logo. I love the Mach 10 logo, by the way. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, thank you again, sir. It was nice.
Absolutely.
Hopefully,
All right.
people got some stuff out of this. Until next time, I'll see you next week.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Bye.